Hello, hello. Welcome to Patriots Inside the Wire. Glad to have you with us tonight. We have a special guest, and we will be introducing her in just a moment. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live.
We remember them as children, playing in a yard, blowing out candles, taking their first steps. We held them as babies and watched them grow into airmen. We remember them as our fathers and mothers, when we said goodbye and tried not to cry, and then letting it all out every time they came home, crying when it finally sunk in that this time they weren't coming home. We remember them on our wedding days, our first dates, waking up together, and how they died in slow motion on a phone call or in a living room when we heard the words, "You might want to sit down." The reality is, nobody was ever killed peacefully in action. And knowing that will rip your heart apart when you think of someone you loved and still love, always, in their final moments on this earth.
Welcome. Again, it's Patriots Inside the Wire. Tonight, it is what I like to call Military Monday. It is a Monday, I'll tell you that. And it's almost Halloween. So happy Halloween out there. Those of you listening tonight to Patriots Inside the Wire. Tonight we have a special guest. With this special guest, Bianca. Bianca showed up at the Capitol when we were in session, and they were doing a special ceremony for my son, Sergeant Two Step. So I was very appreciative and so thankful for not only Bianca, but there was a whole group that she brought along to attend and, give honor to a fallen soldier that, she had never met my son. She had not met me in person, but she brought herself and many others and made sure that they were there to witness and honor one of our fallen here in Texas. So thank you for that, Bianca. We're glad to have you with us on Patriots Inside the Wire. So what do we have going on with you, Bianca? How are you? Good. Looks like you're frozen there. Refresh a little bit. Are you there? Looks like Bianca's internet might be freezing. Something to do with Halloween, maybe? Not sure. But if you'll hit refresh there, hun, while we're waiting for that, we wanted to get in a little. There she is. I was going to tell a story, but good. Got you.
I know it was like if it stopped broadcasting, so it was like in a little circle. So I was like, Tracy, can you hear me?
Internet, you were frozen. You're in it. That's okay. All good. I was going to talk a little about Halloween, but we're going to go straight into talking about you. So this is all about you, Bianca. Why don't you?
No, this is about us.
Well, yeah, it's got to be about our country, right? It's about we the people understanding our Constitution, and not just the Constitution, but your state Constitution. I don't know how many times I've said this. With everything that's going on in the world right now, we the people, that is why it is called We the People. We the people have to be involved in any way possible. Look up precinctstrategy.com. Again, precinctstrategy.com. Get involved in your local precincts. It is very important. There is so much going on today that you, with just a phone call, there are so many things that you can do if you can't get out that we would love for you to get involved with. Please get involved locally. You have no idea how much it is a huge situation right now. Actually, you do. I'm sure you do. Many do. But get involved locally, because locally that vote matters. That vote locally starts everything. And we have got to pay attention to who we are voting into office and make sure that they remember we vote, we the people, and they are serving for us. And so I say it all the time. You go in there and you make sure that your voice is heard, you make sure it is known, and hey, I'm going to say it. I am old school. You put your pants on the same way I do, honey. So you're voted in. Let's have a talk here. And a lot of the times, folks, believe it or not, even our elected officials do not know everything. They may not even know of something that's occurring around them. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt, approach, have a conversation, but get involved in your voting. That is my big message. And so I'm going to turn this over to Bianca. She's here in Texas, and Bianca wants to give us some information tonight. So welcome, Bianca.
Well, thank you, Tracy. I'm so happy to see that you have started this podcast and that you are stepping out of even your own comfort, right? And becoming a voice, not just on the Capitol, not just, going door to door, but to actually make sure that your voice is heard. And so I appreciate you. Thanks for the invite. So yeah, you've asked me to come on and talk about a little bit of my candidacy for running for office. And so I think that, it's through from 2016, ever since Trump ran, and moving on to now, here we are, 2020, 2016 to 2023, almost 8 years later. And we have seen so much corruption, just a lot of division. A lot of our politicians are talkers and not doers. And so we see a lot of, theatrics. And I think at the end, we the people suffer.
Yeah, I think you're
We don't come up with solutions to the problems. A lot of the things that are happening in our state and our local government, in our, national government, all of these things I think have solutions. They can be solvable. I think that America has the most brilliant, just people in the world. I mean, we have the education system. We just have a lot of brilliant people out there and full of wisdom. And it baffles me that we can't put the most brilliant people together in a room, give them the problem, and say, okay, how do we solve this, right?
right.
In a really effective and efficient way that is good for the people, for the state, and for our country.
Yes.
And
You
that we
said
don't
it.
do that anymore. It's like this power, this elite system that's taken over, and you got to play by their rules, or you're not part of their circle. And I'm like, well, that's not why the government was formed. It was formed so that we could represent the people. And
Right.
so there's so many misconstruction about the whole process. We need to get back to we the people. And like you said earlier, how are we going to do good for we the people again when we are not running, or we're not in the system to, effectively cause change and become a change agent? And
Correct.
so I feel like, there's just so many issues out there that we're just not solving, and it becomes a theatrical, you know, circus. And it's like, okay, well, let's give a little bit of this, we'll pass this, applaud ourselves, we champion something, oh, we did something good, but yet the problem's still there. And you're going, but I thought you passed this bill, or I thought that this was supposed to stop, or I thought you were supposed to do this. And then the problems are all still there. And so we keep putting band-aids of bills over other bills and other bills, and nothing's really solving the problem. And I feel like we just need to get back, Tracy, to some common sense.
Thank
Um,
you.
Common sense, like, okay, we've this whole DR pulling us in different directions isn't working for the country anymore.
No,
I left the Democrat Party a very long time ago.
you did.
Um,
You
and,
did. How long ago, Bianca?
back in, so it was actually, I'll tell you, it was actually when Obama was running for
Oh,
office, and my mom was convinced that Obama was the Antichrist. So she came and she was like, we have to vote for who, it was McCain. we have to vote for McCain. We have to vote for McCain. And I'm like, we were all going, wait, what? We were not super politically involved as a family, but traditionally my family voted Democrat. And so she was just convinced. She's like, we cannot vote for Obama. And then, Obama wins. And then Romney comes along and she's like, we have to vote for Romney. And so we were just like, okay. So it was kind of one of those things that we were kind of listening to our mom and we were voting Republican, but we didn't really know why we were voting Republican. We just went and voted because that's what our mom told us to do. She was like adamant that we had to vote for these people. And we thought she was a long life Democrat. She's voted Democrat almost all her life. So
Right.
we were like, how in the world is, but okay, we're like, we're going to listen to our mother. But until Trump came down the escalators in 2016, he had a very bold message. And that really connected with me and a lot of people that I knew. I mean, a lot of people that I knew. And
Right.
he finally actually, because of his tough messaging, he defined why I'd been voting Republican. I really didn't know. I was just voting Republican because my mom told me to. But, he defined why I was voting Republican. And, all these years later, I've continued to vote Republican. So I'm pretty, on the spectrum. When you look at my voting record, it says I'm a hard Republican. I'm an HR, not even a middle, not a moderate. I'm a very hard Republican because I really believe in the principles of the party platform. And it's what defines, it's pretty much how I live my life, basically. Um,
Right.
but I've come to witness in the last 4 years or so, is that the Republican Party has a lot of problems. So I left one party, and that platform is just something I just can't get behind,
Yeah.
no matter what. I left that party to come to another party that I thought was truly going to represent me and my biblical values. And yet here we are, 2023 going into 2024, and my values are not getting represented. And
Right.
so so we're this is that's how I came into the whole thing. And I've watched how corrupt the Republican Party is itself. It's like, so I've come to realize that I'm not married to the party. I'm married to the principles, my
Your
values,
principles.
and the
Yes.
platform. I'm tied to the policy. Tracy, I
Correct.
care about policy, not about the party, and policy and people are over the party. The party is just a structure that's set
I
up, right?
think it's interesting you bring that up. When I hear Obama, my son was in Iraq. So I have always voted Republican. This is not an endorsement. This is not we're not on a campaign trail right now. I am
Mhm.
what I call the title of a mom. That's the
Right.
one title I care about. I do get my own values and principles from the good book, and that's me. So I get mine from the good book, and then from there it is the title of mom. So I had an experience which you know about because you did show up. Thank you for that.
Well,
And then this whole, I call it the fame game, right? It's the fame game. That's what's happening. So,
it is.
getting educated in what is really going on. And, you and I are in Texas. And in Texas, there's quite a lot going on, actually.
A lot.
So, within session this year, I was like, oh my goodness, am I at the state fair or am I in session? I mean, and I mean that genuinely from my heart. There's some
Yeah.
really good people out there and they are in office. However, we did have quite a few things going on. And Bianca, I know that you're with a large group here. Something had happened to me. We won't get on. I'm not going to get into that here. Um, but as I was working in session, as you know,
Hmm.
I became a target in regards to a certain candidate. And it is not a candidate I have ever met and never planned to meet. Um, but you work with quite a lot of the different groups here. But, the number one thing that everyone says to me is, Tracy, when are you going to do something about the border? And I'm like, I live here. If it were up to me, because it's not up to me right now, folks, it's up to all of us to like stand up and do
Mm-hmm.
something. And I mean this nicely. I don't mean go take charge anywhere. I mean do the right thing. Pay attention and look at what we need to do here because yes, there's a crisis and we realized this not just when Title 42 expired during session. This was happening before and now it's just a floodgate. And now everyone else is going, Tracy, what are you going to do about Texas? And I'm like, if I could, trust me, there's a lot I would do in regards to this damn border crisis. But I'll
Right.
tell you one thing I've talked to multiple candidates. One is Julie Clark. Kyle Sims works with her. But there's multiple candidates running around the border. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the largest area of land that is around a border in any state. So that seat is up right there. But Bianca, you actually just announced that you're going to run. So you are running for candidacy yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all heard it right here.
Yeah.
Bianca just said she is going to run in Texas.
Yes.
Bianca, can you tell us a little bit about your district and where you're running so that the people listening to us can get more familiar with that? And please let them know about the group that you are very involved with and have been way before, anything that's being noticed now. And I always recommend this, my own personal advice. I don't watch typical news. I get my information from the community and others that are involved in it. And hopefully we can educate you on some of this. But I know that you've been involved in multiple things. So thank you for coming on. But can you educate, please? Because you mentioned the words common sense. And I'm telling you, I think I'm going to get a hat, a shirt, something that just says, just common sense, please.
Yeah.
I
Common
just need
sense
it.
solutions. Tracy, I think that we met through the whole Moms for America, Moms for Liberty, that whole group
Yes.
there. I do run. I was one of the co-founders of Latinos for Trump very early on in 2016. It was a movement. In 2018, I established an organization and have been president over that organization. In 2020, we kind of grew into Latinos for America first because Trump wasn't in office, but we still have Latinos for Trump, and so I've been leading the charge on that arena, I should say, in that area. And one of the things is I've seen a lot of moms get more involved, right? And I'm a homeschooling mom, by the way. I actually
Oh, thank you.
my kids went through elementary, both of them went through elementary, and I was very involved in the PTO. And so I was very, very involved in all of their sports early on, very involved as team mom, soccer mom. I sat on different boards, PTO president, PTO director, PTO vice president. I mean, every position you could serve in the PTO, because basically it was like 10 years in PTO. My first son went through for 5 years. And as he was leaving elementary, my little one was coming in. So it was a whole other 5 years. But once they went into junior high, I started to homeschool because let me tell you that PTO, oh my goodness. I mean, I knew what was going on in the schools. I knew what was going on with the children. I knew that it was just really it was a disaster. And my personal experience was that one of my sons, the teachers wanted to label him as ADH, whatever they were trying to
ADHD.
label him.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't think my son has ADHD. And so whatever, so I took him to go get evaluated just because they were trying to tell me. But my son was very vibrant. He was intelligent and he was an out of the box thinker, much like his mama. And so he's not a real good about sit there still and just do your worksheet and
Good for
worksheet
him.
after worksheet. There was no creative thinking, no stimulation, nothing. And so, if he spoke out or whatever, they just wanted him to sit there like a zombie. So I took him and I got him evaluated, Tracy, and the doctor was like, sorry, but there's nothing wrong with your child. He's actually, his IQ is this level, and about the age of, I can't remember, 18 to 20 or something. He said, you're going to see your son completely become the man that he is destined to be. Do not put him on. I'm not going to recommend medication. I will not. So I took it back to the school. And I'm on the PTO, Tracy. So I have
Right.
some kind of influence in my school. So I
Yeah.
took it back to the school, and the teacher literally looked at me and she said, I think you need to get another evaluation. I was like, whoa, you're not a doctor, you're a teacher.
Right.
So and come to find out, I had to like, it was like a move of God. Okay. Like I had to move all these mountains, and I literally had to call all of the teachers that were involved, counselor, principal, vice principal, everybody. I had to fight the school district and bring in this, I can't remember if it was a psychologist, psychiatrist, but I had to bring in this. They had to tell the administration, I've been doing my job for 40 years. I do not recommend this child for any medication. He is not ADHD. There is nothing wrong with him.
Right.
And so he had to put his foot down, and they finally left me alone.
Wow.
And I tell you right now, my son went to Clemson, graduated with honors, mind you, and is
Congratulations.
working in Washington, D.C. now. And so,
Right.
yeah, and so I'm going to tell you, like, he has done his thing. Mama didn't have to do much of anything. He flourished on his own. I homeschooled him. I took him out once we were done with elementary, and in
That's a big job, Bianca.
it's a big
No,
job.
big
It
props
is.
to
It
you.
was.
I did that in 5th grade, and it was like
Uh,
that show, how what is it? What was that show, like, Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader?
yeah,
I was like,
I know.
"Oh my gosh, what
You
am I
have to go
doing
through
here?"
everything all over again. You have to go through everything all over again. But I'll tell you, Tracy, I found a really good program, home education partnership, and what came highly recommended. So I put my child through that. But I'll tell you, it was like pulling teeth. It was it's extremely night and day from going from public school to homeschooling.
Right.
And then so we did homeschooling. Once he got into ninth grade, I will tell you, he went into ninth grade, and he was like, I want to go back to public school. And I was like, it was like taking the breath out of me. And so I said, "Oh my gosh." And so my husband was the one that was really fighting me on the whole thing, because he was like, "Oh, well, we're gonna miss Friday night lights. He doesn't get to play football. All the things that
I
come
know.
with the whole
Yeah,
hoopla of being in public school." And
right.
so I let him go back. I said, "Okay," against all of my instincts, but I said, "Okay, you know what? You know, go back to public school." Literally didn't last but 6 weeks. He would come home every day and say, I was like, "Well, where are your books? We don't have any." "What do you mean you don't have any books?" "No." He's like, the teacher just, I was like, "Well, I'm sorry, how are they teaching you? Now are you supposed to study at home?" He's like, "I don't know." So I was like, "Okay, well, hold on a second. Well, what are they teaching you?" So he'd say, every teacher in the ninth grade would turn on a projector and literally just have notes, and then they would be expected to test, and no books home. So I called the teachers and I'm like, "Okay, well, where are the textbooks?" And they said, "Yeah, we don't issue textbooks anymore," and I'm going, "Oh my God." So what, I'm sorry, how are they supposed to study? You know? So
It's a
my
weird
son
I know what
literally,
you're talking about.
he didn't last 6 weeks, and he says, "I want to go back to homeschooling." And so I had to go talk to the principal, and she's like, "He's a little behind." And she's like, "We're going to take you back." And but it was what needed to be done. He had to have that learning
Yeah,
curve. He had to feel empowered to make that decision. And so once after that, it's been great. And so my second one is homeschooled. I'm still homeschooling him. He graduates this next year. So
yeah,
I'm real big on this
great
whole
job.
school choice. Okay, I'm very big on it. Not just a voucher, not just a system, because I've been there, I've done it. My tax dollars, me and my husband's tax dollars have gone to public school, and my kids have not benefited at all, only during public school in elementary. But if you think about it, throughout the rest of their, schooling, we've had to pay for the homeschooling. We've bought the books, we've had to pay for the program, we've had to pay for their classes. So I completely understand the homeschooling community and the needs of it. And one of the things that the homeschooling community, let me tell you, we're big on no government control. That's the whole point. We took our kids out of public school. We don't want the government telling us
No,
and
no, no, we raise our kids, yeah.
regulating what you cannot teach, and all this other stuff. So this whole school choice has to be done with some finesse, that, just because, that you designate the money to go to the child doesn't mean that you as a government now have control of how that child learns in whatever, whether they go online, whether they choose to go to a, you know, some other private school, whatever school they decide to do, or homeschooling, the homeschoolers do not want any government reach, because
Right.
one of the things for us in the homeschooling community, I will tell you, is that we use a lot of text that refer to God, you
Right.
know. And my kid, when he opened up his textbooks, he was like, in science, is like the creation of the world was, you know, the Lord, right? So
Yeah.
he was like, you don't find that in the public schools. I mean, nothing gets
Mhm.
goes back to God. So everything in our textbooks is some reference back to God. It's, you know, and so, and it's back to basics. I mean, a lot of the stuff that my kids, you know, in their textbooks, no matter what, is stuff that I was learning in when I was little, you know, when I
Right.
was in school. So a lot, I have a lot of recollection of that. So I'm going, okay, look, Tracy, you know, this is going back to basics. I want my kid
It
to
is.
know how to add, subtract, you
Yeah.
know, manage a checkbook, and learn economics, and, you know, how to spend your money, save your money, all that good stuff. I want my kid to learn actual history. Okay,
Right.
actual history. I want them to know how to read, write, and spell. And I want them to know science, you know, and basic science. I don't need them to be a chemistry unless that they love that, right? But I don't need them to have some guru NASA, you know, intelligence and science, because my
Right.
kids are, that's not where they're at. So you got to make sure that you find that where your kid is good, and then strengthen them from there, you know,
Right.
and provide them with the resources that they need to be successful. And so I feel like I've done that for my children, is that I'm trying to let them make their own decisions, but yet based on what I know that my child is good at and how what they will make them successful, I try to gear them in that direction. And so so yeah, so I'm really big on school choice. There's no one else I know the matter, because I homeschool my kids, and I
Right.
completely truly homeschool my kids. It's not like, oh, okay, well, I send them off to some private chartered school or something. I
No,
literally
I get
homeschool
it.
them.
I did the whole homeschooling too, and I won't say where my son goes to school right now. Adam's little brother, who's 14, but he is not. So Bianca, a lot of our listeners out there probably
Mhm,
do not know what we're talking about. I actually do know about something that has been high alert. I can't tell you how many messages that I have received because I can't count them. That's why, about a subject in regards to a school district in Texas.
mhm,
And because of where I'm at and what is going on, and this is all public, everyone listening out there, listen to me. Anything going on in the schools is supposed to be public. You're supposed to get notified within 72 hours at least of something that's going on with your board and the trustees, your school district. There is a lot going on. There is a lot actually happening still under the pandemic structure in a specific school district. So I have also been getting a lot of calls in regards to the district, not just this district, but multiple districts.
mhm.
And my answer back from multiple representatives, not all, like I said, there's always good. You just have to seek that out. You have to seek that out and understand. And that's why I say get to know who you're voting for locally. It really matters. Um, and so the ones that did reply to me and they did, look into things, great answers, but not solutions.
Right.
So there's not a solution because, and for everyone listening, Texas is every other year for session. We are in special session right now. And I said, no, wait a minute. I do know that there's a senator who has a bill going into special session, and it does mention some things that will bring us into an area where you have to have that criteria to go back in. And this is important. We're talking about our children. Now we've talked about the border. We're talking about homeschooling. These are three huge topics that need to be a priority. But our kids and what is happening with all of us right now, you seem to have had a handle on that happening with your child way before, like the calls I'm getting. The calls I'm getting are, uh, I'll be honest, they are scaring me. I'm like, whoa, how in the world did it get this bad that these are the
Yeah.
calls that I'm getting? And without giving everyone that information, because this is not that episode, um, I will just let you know that it woke me up in an area that I thought. Now, listen, hey, I've got common sense. I knew it wasn't like all. all great, but I do know the individuals that are working within some of the schools around me. We do have great principals, we have great things, but listen, as even one of them have said to me, quote, "We need help. We need help. We have got to have more help." And I said, "I hear you." I choose not to put my son in public school. I've had have my other children in public school. Different experiences with all, and that is the truth.
Yeah.
um, but there's a lot of vote for prop this, prop that right now. And if we talk about voting local, but based on your candidacy, Bianca, what I realized by looking up your district and looking up where you are and getting to know, I kind of went, "Oh, wait a minute." I actually do know your district very,
Mhm.
very well. I do
Mhm.
have a senator that I work with very close, and I will say that there's a chief of staff in that area that listen, everyone listening, a chief of staff and staffers in an office work
Mhm.
their butts off.
Mhm.
And so I just thank God to the staff of those offices. I am so grateful. And I want everyone to know this. I mean, I know they think that they're like just gatekeepers and like, but it's not. They do a lot of work.
Yeah.
I almost think we need to elect in the dang chief of staff too. Cause I'm like, do you
It's
really know who's looking at your bills to pass
yeah.
those on to their
Yeah,
boss?
the legislative affairs. So yeah, you bring a good point. So a lot of people have asked me, why would you run for this office? Because I believe in term limits. I don't believe in career politicians. And I think once our politicians start getting compromised, this is why we have the issues that we have and we don't have solutions. We don't have common sense solutions anymore because, people are bought out, people are compromised. And so that's first and foremost term limits. We need to establish term limits. I was talking to a mom today out in Michigan and she goes, your state senators and state reps don't have term limits? I said, no.
Yeah.
She goes, what? And I'm like, she goes, in Michigan, we have term limits. I said, no, we don't have term limits here. And we
Right.
need to have term limits because that is how we're going to maybe at least start weeding out all these career politicians. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be Dianne Feinstein rolled out in a wheelchair and not have any comprehension of what I'm signing, doing, or what, it's just that's ridiculous. So that's one of the things. Now, my district is very industrial, Tracy. So we have a
Right.
lot of refineries, oil and gas, a lot of things that, it's just very an industrial complex. We have the working class here. Our median income is about, I think, 60,000 is what I was reading. So, we don't live in a very affluent, but we have the working class.
Right.
And I will tell you that just from being on the ground, and talking, because I'm a ground person, right? So I talk to everybody. People laugh at me. I walked into FedEx and they're like, the lady that works at FedEx, I know all their names.
Yeah.
Like, I know all their names. I go into the grocery store, I know all the names. I know people's names. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Ricardo? Or how's your husband? Like, I have conversations with people and I'm like, hey, how's your dad doing? Or hey, say hi to your wife here. And so it's like I know my people, my community, in offices that I work in, that I walk into, and so my community is a working class and it's a hard working class, right?
It's the
And so
heartbeat of America,
it's a
Bianca.
heartbeat of America. A lot of
We're in
small
it.
businesses in my
Ah,
district. And I will tell you that I keep hearing over and over and over and over, they don't feel that they've been represented. They feel that they've been neglected. There hasn't been any resources coming into our district. There hasn't been any infrastructure. We still have drainage problems. We have the national level problems, obviously, inflation, high gas prices, grocery prices. We have all those things that are already affecting us. But then on the lower end, that being told that in the last 8 years, our district hasn't received the resources that other districts are getting because their, elected officials are not, pretty much have basically ignored them. And they feel like they have no representation and no voice. And so it's really saddening to hear that from my local, people that I grew up around, that parents that I've known from the football league, from the baseball league, from the soccer league, from the PTO, from homeschooling parents, from, just workers, again, just workers. And so it's really sad to hear that they feel like they're totally not represented. not represented, right, Tracy? And
Right.
so I'm like,
Right.
okay, I think it's going to take some mama bears now. And I always say this, and people say mama bears, and I'm like, no, 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 no. We need some Hispanic because we're Hispanic, we're mama grizzlies. So we're like a little bit 10 times, 10 times more effective and efficient. And we just get things done.
Ferocious.
We just get things done. And so we need
Yeah.
some mama grizzlies going in here and saying, we're no longer going to play around with people's taxes. We need to deliver some solution and common sense solutions. And Tracy, you brought up the border. Well, I've probably visited the border more times than any of our representatives. And I'll tell you why, because since 2019, our Latinos for Trump, Latinos for America First, our organization has been feeding Border Patrol agents during appreciation days. We go down there, we fed Border Patrol agents all the way from Brownsville all the way to New Mexico. We've done different regions and gone and we've just said, hey, we appreciate you and we appreciate the work that you do. We appreciate that you put on your uniform every day and that you go out there and you're the first line of defense for our country. And we want to let you know that from a Hispanic led organization, we are here for you and we are your voice and we will advocate for you so that you can, do your job basically. And so that's what we've done. We've had, grown our relationships with people in that community. I'm, from my husband's law enforcement and veteran. My brothers are veterans. It's why
Yeah.
I
And thank
decided to speak out, and we've talked about that. So,
Yes.
so there's a lot of community.
Yeah.
Again, community. Teachers,
Right.
homeschoolers. My sister's a teacher. So I understand. I hear the needs on her end. She's a special needs teacher, right? And so I hear the needs of what she struggles with within the public school that she can't get resources for her children. Okay,
Right.
so I hear from her, I hear from law enforcement, I hear from veterans, I hear from the homeschooling
The
moms,
border.
I hear from just the regular Luby's cafeteria worker to the taqueria worker to the, people at the dry cleaners. I mean, it's like I listen to people around my community. I deal with them on a daily basis. I'm not one of those persons that's a consumer that walks in to whatever store, right? And then just buy my stuff and I make friends with people.
Right. Right.
And
You engage, you get to know your community. That's
I
what I'm
get to know
hearing.
my community. So I'm like, I make friends with my people, and sometimes, when you can kind of have a little bit of discernment and they look sad or they look like they're having a bad day. And sometimes, somebody who's checking me out is grouchy. And I just will say something like, thank you very much. I don't know what's going on in your day, but I hope that your day gets better and God bless you. And
Yeah.
they just immediately go, oh wow, somebody took the time to talk to me or acknowledge that I'm working and I'm having a bad day.
I'm
And
glad you said that, Bianca, because one small thing can push a person, and I'm not kidding
yes,
everyone out there that's listening. One
yes.
little thing you do and say to one person could literally push them one way or the other.
Hmm.
So again, anyone out there listening, because remember, we're streaming all over right now, not just in Texas. If you're looking for help or you're in need, they
Hmm.
have the number out now that you can call, which is the 988 number for help. But what Bianca just said struck with me. I'm sorry, Bianca. I heard that and I went, it's true. You
Hmm.
literally can, and even me, I'm not gonna I am there is nothing special about me except that I am a mother who is ferocious like you're talking about, and I'm telling you, the moments that, can tip you over, and when I say over, I mean over. I mean, in everybody in our country right now, there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
It only takes I
yeah.
mean, if you're rude to just that one person that
Hmm.
day, that could be the one thing. So I want everyone that's listening to us to understand that part about community. And take a minute and just kind of reflect back and get back to our common sense, our core
Yeah,
values, be
yeah,
nice to each other.
yep,
Speaking from experience, I can tell you that, empower each other, and women out there, we have got to empower each other. I am not here endorsing anything, anyone. I decided I need to be a voice. I need to figure out how do I get to not you mentioned it, veterans. You've got your military service members, active
Mhm.
duty. Then
Mhm.
you've got your Gold Star families. And for anyone listening who doesn't know what that is, killed while on active
Yeah.
duty,
A
whether
lot.
they swore that oath, being
Mhm.
foreign or domestic, still had that uniform on. And then you mentioned the Border Patrol. You do know that I advocate very heavily for someone
Yes.
who is in the line of my family, which
Yes.
is Vega.
Yes.
So,
Love her. Love her.
Vega Jr. He
Yes.
was killed. He was shot twice
Yes.
before the border opened, folks. Before the border opened. That's how far removed I am from this.
Yeah.
This is a situation that is scary. It was already scary because I already knew in my heart, I had already felt it because Javier Vega Jr. was literally my mentor when my son was killed. I mean, what a short world, right? Like just that connection of him and I being connected, and a Marine. He's a Marine and tough.
Yes.
And I use the present tense because I want everyone to understand this. If
Mhm.
he tried everything in his power that he could do, still working as a Border Patrol agent, a Marine, mentoring a mother whose son was just killed on U.S. soil while serving, can be shot and killed while his whole family is there.
I
Listen,
know.
we
I
are all in need of
know.
opening our eyes and figuring
Mhm.
this out and coming
Yep.
together. So that whole R that you mentioned, the whole D, are you Democrat? Are you Republican? I'm like, damn. I'm not either right now. You know what I am is I am damn mad for D, and R is for Republican as hell. I don't know what to say except
Mhm.
I just know we have to right the wrong. That's the
Yes.
R,
Mhm.
and the D is just it's damn wrong.
Yeah. Right.
So as far
I
as
love
me,
that.
it just came
I
out.
love that. Yeah.
When you have your child killed.
Mhm.
And you have not just mine, but others. And then we start connecting. Talk about mama bear. That's an area that in the insides of me that's why you met me at the Capitol.
Yeah.
It's a law. I am just a mother who is trying to wake up everybody to say, look at twostep.com, the number two step. I had a bill passed unanimously in the House, couldn't get anywhere in the Senate with everything that was going on. Hopefully, God willing, with everything, you got to wait 2 years in Texas, but I'm hoping to go federal again, God willing again. Um, but we have a lot of work to do. So, Bianca,
Yes.
with you in your area,
Mhm.
can you give us some information, your website and details so we can make
Yeah.
sure that people know how to reach you and
Absolutely.
get involved in their community? And even if someone is not endorsing and they're not all about, getting into the political thing, just getting involved. I know that you have a lot of that information. So I want to make sure that we share your information too with our listeners. Thank you.
So thank you, Tracy, for asking that. I just want to make sure that you know that our organization was probably one of the only organizations out there. I mean, there might have been a few others, but we were very, very strong on speaking out for the angel moms. So that's how we know Miss Vega, and we know a lot of the other families as well. And we always gave them a platform, and we advocated heavily about building the wall, closing the border, removing illegals from our country that should not be here. And so we were very strong advocates of that. So I want to make sure. And then just to go back, because I want you to know that when you said the act of kindness, when I told that cashier checking out at the store, she literally, it made her day. And this is what she said to me. She said, "Thank you very much." She says, "Today is my birthday and I'm a single mom, and my kids just call me to ask me what I wanted for dinner because I can't be home with them. I had to come work. They made us mandatory work." And I felt like, oh my gosh. And so I said, "Well, happy birthday. Don't be sad. You had to work, but what a great family you raised." Because most kids would have been like, who cares? Whatever, mom. But they called you to ask you what you wanted to eat so that when you get home from working, that they were going to have something for dinner. I said, well, how blessed are you? And I said, look at the bright side. You may have had to be here and checking us all out, but I said, you've raised some really good children. Be proud of
That's
that. That made her day.
oh,
So it just made her day. But I wanted to go back and tell you, so an act of kindness, how far it
right,
does go, Tracy. So for anybody who wants to learn more about my campaign, get involved in my campaign, be
right.
part of my movement, you can follow me at any social media platform at Bianca for Texas, FOR Texas. And then my website is Bianca FOR Texas, BiancaForTexas.com. So pretty simple there. Bianca for Texas. I'm for Texas, and I think Texas we need to bring constitutional conservative values back into Texas. We need to
Correct.
start coming up with some solutions, and we need to start tackling some of these very tough things that we're having to be challenged around the state of Texas. And we need to make sure that people's rights are not ever infringed upon again by
Correct.
any government entity. And we just need to come up with some, we need to problem solve. That's what I'm good at. I'm good at problem solving. And so, Tracy, I look forward to becoming the next state rep here for my district. And I look forward to bringing people together. It's one of my strengths is putting people together in a room and saying, okay, let's lay everything out. Let's look at it comprehensively right now. Let's come up with what are the pros, what are the cons, what exists right now, what's in law right now, what do we need to overwrite. Let's come up with a good plan of action. And then it's not a Bianca show. It's not me, and I wrote this
Right.
bill and it's about community. It's about bringing leaders and those, bringing in people who are
The heartbeat.
experts, experts at their field, and
Yeah.
saying, let's
Yeah.
listen to the experts, but actually do what the experts are telling us to do. Not just, it's a waste of time when you bring in Border Patrol and you bring in law enforcement and you hear what they have to say and they go through all their briefings and then you don't even pass the laws that they're telling you, or that you don't even do what they're asking you to do. That's a waste of people's time. We need to get past that. We need to get past all that theatrical circus. We need to start solving problems in the state of Texas. We need to keep Texas. As goes Texas, goes the nation. And so, for those that really believe in, bringing common sense back to the Capitol and getting work done, not waiting for the governor to call us back to a special session because we can't get our act together and get work done during the time that we're expected to work. We need to get back to work, working for the people and doing what we say we're going to do. And we just needs to be common sense solutions with a common sense approach. And I think you're going to see, Tracy, that this next 2024 going into 2025, I think that you're going to see people are so fed up, like you, that just
Oh,
said
yeah.
forget about the D and the R. I think people are
Yeah.
going to start looking for the candidate and looking for new people and a fresh body of people to go represent the districts and say, okay, we're going to give everybody a chance. We're going to vote in some new people. Let's see what you guys can do. And then, what, if you don't get your job done, then we're going to actively make sure we vote you out, because you're not getting your job done.
Right.
That's where we need to start teaching citizens to be accountable. Citizen accountability is a big, huge thing. You got to teach citizens accountability. Do not let these elected officials continue to go back into office and do nothing. So you as a citizen have to be accountable for electing new leaders, and you're accountable for all of these things that you complain about in your district. You are accountable.
Right.
So let's elect new leaders and give them the opportunity to go in there and get back to work for Texas. And if they don't do their job, hey, guess what? Citizen accountability again. You find someone else to replace them and say, okay, well, we gave you a chance. You didn't do. And so therefore we're going to put in the next person and just continue to do that until you finally find a body of people that can actually get work done. Look at what the Congress just went through right now. Matt Gaetz, we removed McCarthy. That was a theatrical thing, and it was like, oh my goodness, and you kept going and putting up all these people. And then now look, I kept saying, I said, this is a great thing. I mean, Republicans were in uproar. Oh, this is so un-Republican like, and listen, you got to sometimes shake it all up And look, now I really believe, I said, look, I think that what's going to happen after this is we're going to get a very good person that's going to be able to unite
Right.
all people, right? This
Right.
one, this faction, this somebody's going to be able to wrangle everybody in, unite people, and then get the work done. I
I
think the American people just want that, Tracy. I know
I
you are an
know.
advocate for what you want. Let's get the work done. Common sense solutions. We just need this to get back into reality of things and defend our constitution, defend our state, and work for the people. So if you
That's
believe in that,
right.
visit biancafortexas.com and join me, donate. I want it to be a grassroots organic. I don't want to be bought out by any elite system. I want people to believe in me and to say, you know what, I'm going to give you $5 and I want that $5 to go towards my yard sign, and I want a yard sign in my front, yard.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's what I want. I want grassroots organic people. So, if you believe in my message and you believe that we need to, get Texas back to working, then you go visit my website, donate, and or join in to come and help make
Fine.
phone calls or block walk.
That's right, and it's Bianca for Texas again, Bianca for FOR Texas.com for all of those listening out there. If you cannot give even a dollar or five, we're not even asking just that. It
Yeah.
is get involved. And hey, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm here on a platform within a station that we do not, as Patriots Inside the Wire, announce who I endorse, who I do not. I am here as a mother that is using this as a vessel. So privately, I could talk to you on a back channel and I would let you know that information. But as far as Patriots Inside the Wire, um, we do not, but we make sure we get out the messages that we do need to get out. So we get out
Yeah.
those messages. And Bianca, so I came up, so precinct strategy, some friends of mine, and I don't know if I know you've been on this, but I get looked at very funny when I talk about, hey, I'm on X. And they're like, what? And
I
I'm
know.
like, come on.
I
Okay.
don't like
I'm on,
that. I don't like that because it makes it sound like we're on a drug.
well, and they're like, "No, I'm in a space." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Wait a minute. Did Twitter and MySpace have a baby?" And I'm like, "No. It is X, a
That's
social platform."
hilarious.
Uh,
That's hilarious.
you heard it
Yeah.
here first.
Yeah, I did. I'm like, that's hilarious. That's a new
There
one. I
you
gotta
go.
use that.
Twitter had a baby with MySpaces, and now you have live radio inside of what is now X, formerly known as Twitter. I am not endorsing them. What I'm telling you is there is a lot of information
Yes.
that you can get. There are people that are highly involved in there within the groups. So it's a whole change within that platform. Not endorsing it. What I'm telling you is I have met some real movement, some
Yes.
people that shake up things and groups. So for instance, we have groups in there which are, you're in one of the groups that I'm in as well. So just to give
Yes.
people a little bit of that information. And I get a lot of my information right there
Yes.
by people. It's
Yes.
the heartbeat of a
Yes.
community, and it's not
Absolutely.
just in Texas, it's
Yes.
all over. You
All
mentioned
over.
the lady that you talked to about term limits. The same thing was said to me. Wait a minute, the person in your state there's no term limits? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
No.
no, there's
No.
not. And they were like, "You've got to be kidding me." And I said, "No, I'm not kidding you, but it's I don't make the laws. I'm just here to try to get out the information. I am not running for office. I am old school OG. I will say it like it is. No telling. I would be like, save your bail money. Come get me, Bianca, because not that I'm going to do anything, folks. Now, don't
Well,
take that the wrong way these days. I mean, listen, I love our law enforcement. Number one. Number
yes.
two, our border agents. Number three, our laws are there for a reason. We
Yes.
have got to start following those and
Yes.
supporting the right things and getting involved is why I bring that up. Um, what I mean is, I can't bite my tongue. I mean, it's a common sense thing. I
Mhm.
won't lose another child, Bianca. I won't do it.
Right.
And what's
That's right.
happening at the border and what's
Yes.
happening in Texas and
Yes.
what I found out about a certain school district, I'm
Mhm.
telling you, I
It's
didn't
horrific.
think I could be shaken to my core, even a little bit to
Yeah.
what has happened with my oldest son. I got a little bit shaken to my core recently
It's horrific
when
with that.
I found out something about school districts right now. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "You've got to be kidding me. We let who go to the schools and how old? Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
This can't be real." And no one would listen to me. And I was like, go look it up. It's under the education code 25.001. Yes, illegal men ages 21 to 25 are in our high schools as freshmen, folks. This is true. I did not make this up. It is very real. And I'll even go even further to tell you that even Paxton's office is one of the ones that was very nice enough to tell me you are correct. And actually, you have someone in your area, a good person that said, you know what? You are correct. And it is not right. It's not the state rep. So, not the office you're running for. But I was grateful to have them, say, you know what? You're right. And it was a hot topic. And I'm like, you bet it is. You're damn right. A hot
Yeah.
topic. Come on. Like, I
Yep.
didn't know about this. Number one. Number two, no one believes me. I mean, I've talked to a number of people, not just in the community. I mean, up there, they're like, "There's no way." And I'm like,
You're
"Listen,
like, yes, there is.
folks, this is true. This got slid in, and that's how it works. You can slide that right in. That law's in there. When there are night resource classes, there's all sorts of classes. And we brought up Vega, very close to me, the border agent killed. I mean, they went through the right process to come to this country, and so did many of us. And hey, welcome.
That's right.
That is wonderful. We're
That's
not
right.
saying don't come
Right.
here. What we're
Right.
saying is protect us.
We
What
need
we're
we need to
saying,
vet you.
we
We need to
need
vet
well,
you before you
well,
come.
I'm a little concerned on right now. How do we even know where anyone is at this point? I mean, it's
Oh,
just been such a
no,
floodgate that's opened.
no.
Uh,
They're not
I
giving us,
It's
and
unbelievable.
they're not really giving us the real numbers. I mean, I'm hearing from, sources inside that because of all the gotaways and people that they obviously are not catching or turning themselves in, right? Because of how porous the border is, they're anticipating that we're probably anywhere close to 55 million. It's not 7, 10, 12 million. It is beyond that because you have to take into account that it's not just Texas they're coming through. It is Texas, it is Arizona, and it is California.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's not enough agents. There's just not enough
Oh,
agents
no,
in any of the
no.
states in the 3 states to actually process any of these people. So while they're boggled down over here, there's thousands more coming straight through, getting picked up or walking or whatever it is that they're doing, but they're just coming right in and we don't know. We don't
Right.
know who they are. We don't know where they're going. We don't know anything about them, and we're not going to know how to find them. We're just
Well,
not.
you're that I feel like I'm like preaching. We're preaching to the choir to each other right now. We're
We know
hoping
it.
that everyone out there is listening to us. And I know I'm not. We don't want to scare anyone. What we're doing is educating.
Right,
So we just want to
absolutely.
make sure that you have the information. We want to make sure that you're involved in your community.
Right.
Again, if you want to look at something that can tell you a way to get involved, that's precinctstrategy.com.
Yes.
I this is not a person that I actually know. This is a person who put this together and
Yeah.
decided we need the basics to let people understand how a small act can go a long way. And then you've got biancafortexas.com. Check
Yes.
her out in regards to where she's running in Texas.
Yes.
I know a lot about Texas, but we want everyone else to get involved.
Yes.
And those throughout that are listening, not just in Texas. Everything that's happening is happening all over, and it is
Yes.
not just here. And we
That's
want to
right.
make sure that we are all taking care of our children, their children, and so
Mhm.
on. Deserve this. Uh, Bianca, do me a favor and look up
Mhm.
Biden's land grab 30 by 30. There are farmers and ranchers and people, their
Mhm.
land is being stolen from them. Multiple families here in Texas. I want you to look that up.
I'm
It
gonna look
shook
up.
me to my core. I could
Okay.
not believe it. Their farms, their lands, their ranchers, their properties taken. That's our food and water.
Yep.
This
It's
Biden
part of their
land grab
plan. It's part of it.
3030. I am just blown. It takes a lot to blow me away these days, but I just did this. It's Biden land grab anyone that's listening, 30 by 30. There's a family here in Texas. Their farm has been taken. It was in their family for generations.
Wow.
The food and water, oh, yeah, multiple, like 15 already. This happened in the Netherlands. Like, this is not just Texas. This is happening 2 months into the administration. This started happening. So, by labeling there's a couple of fish that are all of a sudden becoming extinct, which we've never heard the names of these fish. Number
Hmm.
one. Number two, oh my gosh, that tractor's too loud. It's going to disrupt, and then they can't lay the egg. Are you kidding me? Like, that's what
This
I
is
did. See
wha-
that face? Oh, hello.
we've had lakes and fish and tractors for how many
That's what you
decades
do.
now? So
Yeah.
I just want to say, Tracy, too, you mentioned the precinct strategy. So I wanted to let you know that I do work with Dan Schultz and
Well,
Steve Stern. So
there you
I'm
go.
on those calls that we've been, Steve Stern has them monthly on election integrity. I've been on those calls. I've actually helped Steve Stern connect with people here in Texas as he's grown that base for, implementing the precinct strategy. So in my local area, I actually have recruited new precinct chairs that are going to be running for these precincts.
Mm,
And the other last week, I actually trained 9 up and coming precinct people that are going to apply to become precinct chairs. And so my training was basically things that I used to train for when I worked for the Republican Party of Texas. So I made these trainings. So I updated them, and basically my training was really to go over, Tracy, what the job was of the precinct strategy chair, how to get involved when you get roadblocks, how to get around the roadblocks, and
yes.
and then how to develop your precinct chair influence into becoming a delegate and state delegate, and how to use that to write resolutions. There's just a really very comprehensive overview of what a precinct strategy or a precinct chair does in the state of Texas and what their duties are, and really letting people know they really hold the power with this precinct chair. They just
They
don't
do.
know it. So,
Well,
so
we are
yeah,
connected
you
in a
mentioned
lot of ways, Bianca, there. You just mentioned the 2 names that I did not mention, so I will have to get with you on that. Here
it.
I am, giving them all this credit and everything, but, I would love to talk to them at some point, get them on to let them explain.
Oh, they would love to be on. Steve does a lot of obviously he goes on Steve Bannon all the time, but he does a lot of media, and so Steve Stern is a great guy,
Okay,
and you'll love him. I actually need to connect you with him because you can definitely help them and
okay.
get involved, and you can start becoming part of their calls and their national calls. So you'll meet so many other patriots in other states, and you get to hear what they're doing and how something was effective or not effective, or what they've been able to do, in their regions, how they've cleaned up voter rolls, roadblocks they've gotten into. They discuss so many things, but I think that's really the thing is getting the list and networking with other people. And so, Tracy, this will be a very good avenue for you
Well, I
to
would love
even
it.
grow what your message is, and you'll
Yeah.
you'll fit right into this community. You'll fit right
Well,
in.
let Steve know that I would love to, and let Dan say hi to Dan and let him know
I,
that Patriots Inside the Wire is preaching to the choir nonstop about
I will let
how
them
to
know.
get involved in your precinct. Um, there's
Perfect.
just so much information. That's
Yes,
why I'm thinking, okay, let's break this down because it can be overwhelming out there. But and that's why precinct strategy. I brought them up. BiancaForTexas.com. Please check that out. Not only is Bianca running in her area as a representative, she has already been involved in multiple groups. And then within being involved in those groups, took that extra hour she's talking about to come to something that was about a fallen soldier in our community and made sure that some other people were there. And that meant a lot. You can ask people, you can invite, and I know people are busy. I understand that. But, we have to be there for each other.
yes,
We are the backbone of our
yes.
country, the heartbeat of America, and women, please, let's empower each other. Let's step up and be there for each other. There is always a way to work through something. And I just want to send that message of encouragement and to connect. Again, we've had Bianca on tonight. Bianca is running in her area for state rep. You heard it here, biancafortexas.com. Thank you so much, Bianca. Again, I'm like, every time I talk to you, there's another link somewhere. So I would love to talk with Steve.
Yes.
I'm not Steve Bannon on Bannon War Room, but I am a patriot. I am a Gold Star mother, and I am also an Angel family, unfortunately, in
Yes.
regards to the fentanyl crisis as
That's
well.
right.
So,
And
um,
Tracy, I just want to say thank you for allowing me and my group to, we were very humbled to go and stand with you at the Capitol that day and really learn and hear about the tragedy that happened with your son and hear the story because it helps us then when we're out talking, when we're tough on this border, right?
right.
It helps us be an advocate for you and say, hey, whoa, 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 we know these stories and we become a bit bigger advocates for your cause. And so, and to be able to say, we were just very humbled and honored to be there with you. So thank you for allowing us
Well,
that time to
yeah.
learn about you and your family. And, you
Thank
know, you will be forever in our hearts. And so, you and your family and know that your son is going to always be remembered. And I love that you're a mama that makes sure that he is never forgotten and that you have
Yes,
taken
I
on
am.
that mantle to fight for what's right. So we
That's
thank you for
right.
that.
That's right. So not only our border patrol, but our service members and our
Yes.
officers out there. State representatives showed up. The first ever officer elected into office as a state rep is Frederick Frazier. Representative Frazier. We'll have to get him on too, but he
Awesome.
took time out of his day. And listen, the whole police association, you know this, the TUSA
Mhm.
fact was backed by a lot. I mean, more than you can imagine, because people weren't putting together the dots of why does this help the border? Well, it helps the border because guess what? The number one mode of transportation that's not checked is our rental cars. So, folks, things are being done out there that you don't want to happen. You already have a situation. What I want, what Bianca would like, I'm sure. Let's just get some information out there. Let's connect and back to the basics. That's what I call it. Let's get back to the basics. Let's get some common sense. Let's get this community going in each area and not just in Texas, but all over. We thank you for joining us. I look forward to talking to you more, Bianca. It is biancafortexas.com. We are not leaving. We want you to hear this song that we are going to give you a little bit of by Shannon Book right now, who has been so kind to let us actually use this. So we are forever grateful for someone that will, come and join us. We are just patriots who are getting together and we are deciding that we need to, take care of each other. So here you go.
Dear Mom, please believe I've done everything I needed to. Dear Mom, I'll be there when you breathe while you're sleeping. I can't believe I'm saying these words to you.
You're muted. You muted. Tracy, no, you muted. You're on mute. There you go.
Patriot.
Dear Mom, I'll be here with you, breathe while you're sleeping.
folks. That was just a little bit by Shannon Book talking to us about Dear Mom and remembering each other and taking care of each other. Again, yes, our signal went out a little bit. Thank you for that, Bianca, on the mute button there. But my cord's wiggling around on me. But we've got it. We're Patriots. We are women empowering each other. Again, Bianca for Texas.com. Thank you for joining us. And I look forward to talking to you more and hearing from Steve. I'd love to get involved. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining Patriots Inside the Wire with Sergeant Two Steps Mother. God bless and good night. Goodbye.